Welcome back to the Unpopular Opinion Becoming Popular. My name is Yana the Heretic, and this is the channel where I discuss the current human design I Ching transit gate of the week. And we are stepping into gate 29. It is a collective gate that is located in the sacral center. The sacral reaching up towards the identity center. And it's going to be with us from the 16th to the 22nd of this month, August. And it's another gate under Thoth. And we talked a little bit about Thoth. He is the Egyptian god of language and writing. He dedicated his life to depicting history and almost the Akashic record, where it's informing us human beings on how to create this logic system and formulas for time, and understanding the duality of nature itself. The sun rises, the moon rises and shines, and the sun sets and the moon goes away. So we are all in this rhythm, in this time, and every single thing to promote our existence is saying yes. So time keeps moving, and it keeps moving matter into a direction. That has always been the case. So time itself is creating the commitment. It's dedicated to the commitment of allowing the sun to rise and set, allowing us to keep breathing, to keep being suspended in gravity. There is these laws or commitments that are occurring all around us, and this is exactly what Gate 29 is about. It is about saying yes, and saying yes is the abysmal commitment. So it's pretty intense. It's an intense sacral gate because it really shines the light on what our individualities fated to do, or seemingly karmically fated to do. This is the quote that was erected, I believe, at the root of this gate, the "everything happens for a reason" quote. And realistically, it's just being, the one that says yes without really depicting what the future beholds, not really knowing what it's going to do, what's going to carve you into, especially when it comes down to relationships. So the sacral center is all about response. It's about, the desire, the fuel, the pulse to say yes, and yes to life. And when it comes down to relationships in this way, it's, the saying yes to being in a relationship, to being the manager or the one responsible or the one that's playing a role. And where does that typically lead? It leads into, creating life, creating a business, or creating actual children. And then the responsibility is your relationship to being that parent that you are now. And it really brings in this moral question of how to be the correct parent, because you have to be the parent once you're a parent. You can't just say, oh, well, today I don't really feel like it. And I know that a lot of parents do. I can't speak for my own, life. I have a cat, so I'm responsible for him. And but I know a lot of parents, like, I don't want to be a parent today. And, they hire somebody, or they ask their sister or their friend, and that's totally reasonable, right? So, but this gate is also interestingly on the cross of contagion, and it's about those people that are ready to judge at the drop of a hat, or ready to document your incapability of being being responsible for your role as either a parent or a manager or the boss of a company. There's always somebody counting down, or putting the ballots in the box, or just like, oh well, you did this now. So it's contagious in that way, but it's also contagious because people talk about you. They're like, oh yeah, this is why people say, oh well, I've heard a lot about you. Your sister told me all about you, and I just knew that you were a great person, and that I liked you. I've seen your picture. I felt your energy. It's contagious in that way, because people want to get to know you, and they want to get to know your family through you. Or it's contagious because the tribal people are in these frats or in these cults, and if everyone jumps, you jump, right? So it's contagious energy in that way, where you don't want to be the one seen as doing the incorrect thing, or the one that fails the system, or so you try to build these cliches, or you just develop them through the not self, right? Where you're just like, oh well, I don't want to be seen as the person that's not doing this, so I'm just gonna say yes, right? So that's where the not self is really extremely developed, and that's why the I Ching says this is returning the gorge. It's a little strange, but the I Ching really depicts this as the ferocity of your heart, the very intense nature of commitment and training, because Thoth wakes up, and, he has to document. I don't even know if he wakes up. I don't know if he sleeps, but realistically, he still is there to document, the change of events. He's there to document these souls passing, and it is absolutely necessary. These roles are what makes us proud to exist. A lot of people live for their roles in society. A lot of people live for, their freedom, the freedom to create their entire life, and they develop and format their life to what is like their intense craving or desire. Some people, like myself, I want to dedicate my life to education and educating others, and creativity, and exploring the realms of creativity and inspiration, how I'm going to be inspired by other people that I meet that are creators. And therefore, I don't want to have children in this lifetime, because that's not what I crave to experience. And other people crave to experience family, and the loyalty and the strength that comes with being a parent. They want to know how to be better than what came before. Like, a lot of us don't want to be the parents that we had, right? So we stand up and are prideful of being the parents that we never had, and seeing the evolution and the care and the ability to teach the little beings in the world how to become, leaders in this new society, this new age that we're building, right? So, but if there's a duality, right? There's a duality to saying yes to that, because some people say yes because, well, I got myself into a shitty situation. I said yes to this person and now I'm pregnant, and, I don't really want to be a parent, right? And that's like the main topic of this age, to have abortions legalized or not. And the reality is, there's definitely children out there who are determined to not feel like orphans. They face and alchemize their trauma and they become something from that fuel. But there are tons and tons of children who are either orphans because their parents said yes, didn't want to be parents, or, there's children that aren't orphans that feel like orphans, because their parents are like always hiring babysitters and they're like, yeah, well, I need somebody to carry down this legacy, but, we don't want to spend time with you, really. We don't have time. So realistically, it causes this dilemma of saying yes, and I'm not here to depict the right and wrongs of society, but I'm here to be the messenger, right? That's Thoth energy. This is what happens, and people have their dualistic nature, what they feel is wrong and right in their hearts. Realistically, the power is behind the heart. The integrity of the heart, mind, and body, because you don't want to say yes to something. This is what the human design system is built upon, is making the correct decision based off of your design, to shave and shed off that false cliche, that, well, I think that this is what my mom will think is right to do, or some people need that guidance, but some people need their sovereignty, and that's what makes you different from everybody else, is if like, okay, this is going to be really what is going to make me a better person and not hate my life forever, and go through these lawsuits and these divorces and, deal with law in the harshest of ways. Because, speaking from an emotional standpoint, even just rejection from like years ago will haunt me and shadow me, and then I realize, holy shit, like I'm in this revolutionary phase where that can now go away, but divorce and the pain of the heart can last a long time. So we really want to know ourselves before we make these really intense decisions. We really want to know whether or not we want to be parents or husbands and wives, and, because it ultimately puts you in situations that teach you something harsh or something beautiful. You find strength in what you didn't know you had strength for. So the intensity of the heart, this reminds me of Dune, and, Paul expressing this quote. It's like one of the most fascinating quotes I've ever read in a book. It's like being injected or infected with a terrible purpose, and it's just knowing that, wow, like I was born into a family, that like oversees the functionality of this desert planet somewhere, and my father created these laws and peace treaties and all these ways to deliver spice to the people, which brings awareness to society. And other people killed off his father, and now he has to be injected with this terrible purpose, which if he was to sit back and do nothing, then, everything would crumble. The whole entire order of these systems in place that are fair would dissolve and go into disarray and create these hierarchies that are extremely toxic and abusive to society, right? So, and they would take over the spice and all of the awareness and keep it for themselves, right? So you can't sit back, right? Some of these commitments are almost written in stone, it seems like. And who would you be to not perform them? It's intense. So we want to really understand our strategy and authority. That's like what we have, as emotional beings. Wait to respond. Wait till your emotions cool down. As a sacral being, get asked a yes or no question and feel it from the gut, feel it from the vocal system that comes from your diaphragm, yes or no. Or feel it splenically, which your body is telling you with these sensations, like, that seems like a terrible decision, and they know instantly because their body only tells them once. So you got to be clear. Do you speak and soundboard, your decisions and get the opinions from listeners? So we really want to say yes from our own personal authority here, because it shows us how intense life can be if you are mindless with your decisions. And you do it based off of somebody else's mind, right? So the channel of discovery is the 4629. And gate 46 is the gate of determination or pushing upward. And it really bridges the gap of commitment and determination. So gate 29 is the commitment. It doesn't know why it's committed. And the 46 knows. It has the love, the density of why you want to do something, why you're determined. So together they make the channel of discovery, because you're going into the situation and you have a seed, right? You have that seed of intent. And you're like, yes, I want to do this for sure. But you never know what that's going to unfold into. You don't know the flower that is blooming. Sometimes you do, but there, are chemical reactions and people that come into your life that change these streams of consciousness that we create, this ripple. And the 29, unfortunately, isn't greeted with this harmonic, so we don't really know the reason to saying yes other than having an experience. So just be very cautious and what is going on, and bring your focus back to what your emotions are feeling, what your gut is reacting to, your vocal cords saying uh-huh or absolutely not, or yeah, or your splenic system, your body telling you, from a very primitive place, like, I got this sensation that tells me it's not a good idea. Yeah. Questions of the week. What is the best thing that you have said yes to, and how did it change your life? What is the worst thing that you have said yes to, and how did that change your life? Explore these dualities. How does the sacral pulse feel when you respond with awareness? You feel this sense of agency, right? How does it feel when you respond because you think it's morally right to do so in the eyes of others? Now, just because, you say yes because it's right to do so doesn't mean it's ultimately a bad thing. It you know, some people are closed off, you know, they're guarded, and then they say yes because, you know, well, you know, my best friend's here and he's super friendly and I guess I'll do it, you know, and I'm committed. And it teaches you something good, you know, it teaches you how to open your heart back up. So, but a lot of the time it's like, well, they say jump, I jump, you know, and it puts you into a really crazy situation. Being the chill person, the overly patient one, the listener, typically makes you subject to being guided by others. Have you been a friend in the situation while also making sure to reflect your responsibility to yourself? So I'm one of those people that used to just listen, and you know, I was like, actually I had to learn to like not agree with a lot. And I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Why am I here listening to you? I don't agree with any of these things. I don't actually like you, you know? And so when we become, you know, purposeful and we learn to love ourselves is when we decide, okay, I'm going to leave this situation because it's really not serving me. So this is the way you ceaselessly become. And I wish that journey upon all of you to have the agency to say yes and to say no. Believe that you are allowed to say no. And with that, I leave you with a lot to think about. I will see you in the next transit.